guys, Brandon Carey here, and welcome to an episode of Magic in the Arena. Today I will have a new deck to play, of course, but before we get to that, there was a big announcement that was made in Standard in between the last stream and this one. A couple of really, really big cards got taken out of Standard. That is this guy here, Oko, Thief of Crowns, who was very notorious for kind of preventing players from being able to cast big creatures with his +1, and important artifacts will also get disrupted thanks to him. So with him gone, since he was used in literally 50% of the decks in Standard up until he was banned, that should definitely cause a big shakeup. But he was not the only card that got banned. Once Upon a Time is also now banned. The reason being is that being able to cast a spell to dig for a creature or land for free on the first turn added a bit of consistency that was a little extreme, especially since green was already such a big color, a represented color in Standard. Up until this card got released, and once it got released, you'd see 4 copies of it in almost every deck because you'd have no reason not to run green, especially with Oko and the other card that I'm about to announce that also got banned, which was Veil of Summer, which was ostensibly designed to be a hate card in green for blue and black because it prevents your spells from getting countered, and it gives your permanents hexproof until end of turn from blue and black. The problem was that this essentially made it literally impossible to run counterspells at all. This, especially when you have Teferi in the format already, it made counterspells a non-starter because the moment you would play one to disrupt your opponent's strategy, it would, for a single mana, completely hose your removal. Also, if you wanted to use something like Oka's ability or a removal spell to deal with a big threat on the board, you couldn't because Veil of Summer would give those permanents hexproof. And then it draws a card to replace itself. It was just very, very powerful and a very, very strong way to keep your strategy going in perpetuity, more or less. So this was too strong of a hate card, so it had to get the ban hammer. So with those three, particularly Veil of Summer getting banned, the deck space has opened up dramatically to the point where I am going to attempt to play a good old-fashioned 2-color Azorius Control deck. Basically, the strategy is more or less to just stall the game long enough to draw into one of our big bombs that would be either Cavalier of Gales or Agent of Treachery or Mass Manipulation here, and then use the value of those big drops to win the game. And while we're stalling, we're using Brazen Borrower to bounce key pieces to our opponent's hand, using Govan's Veto, Mystical Dispute, and Absorb as counterspells to prevent their big drops from hitting the board, and with Veil of Summer gone, we can do this much more securely than we did prior. And then we'll use Gadwick the Wizened here and Hemisphere's Insight to draw cards, Time Wipe to clear the board in case our opponent gets too many creatures, and we have Prison Realm to serve as removal once creatures are already on the board, or Planeswalkers even. Teferi's here because he prevents our opponents from using counter magic, and he can also do the thing that we want to do with Tempo, where he bounces key pieces off the board and lets us draw cards on top of that. So he has two roles there that are very important for a control strategy. And with that, let us see if we can run a good old Azorius Control deck in Standard. Do keep in mind that because I am playing a control strategy, these matches will probably take longer than normal. My objective is to stall the game long enough for me to kind of outvalue my opponent, which means I do want to waste their time, more or less, by disrupting the strategy and bouncing their big pieces off the board. Like, okay, so here's a cat oven deck. We'll have enough mana to eventually get to Cavalier Gales, which will also help us draw extra cards if we need to. And more importantly, if he plays the oven, we can bounce... okay, we can't bounce them both. That's going to be a problem if he plays the oven. But we could bounce the oven itself. If we need to. It's not a problem. I'm going to hold for now. Getting a lot of basic lands, which is not the worst thing that can happen. Yeah, that's gonna get bounced in all likelihood, just to give me some tempo. We're gonna bounce that. Ooh, Time Wipe, that'll be a good 5-drop. So we can use that also to bounce our Brazen Borrow back to our hand. Let us do some more bouncing. Does give him some card draw. I'll not deny that. But it does also clear the board. And we can, if he does play the oven this turn, we can bounce it and then counter it with Absorb. To also gain us some extra life. So that could have been worse, but also not the worst, but also not a bad position. Necessarily. Oh, being able to bounce a 6-drop will be nice once we do get that ability. I think I'm actually going to counter the Midnight Reaper and leave that Dreadhorde Invasion alone for now. Because I will be gaining enough life to more or less counteract that. Yeah, we're going to absorb that. Time Up again. It's also very nice. Two cards on top. I'll keep that Dovin's Veto. I'm gonna throw this land and this Time Wipe on top. I wish I had that Time Life for sure, but it's also not the biggest deal. able to bounce that Cavalier of Gales and then get that Brainstorm effect again will be great. But even if I don't, even if it gets removed, it's still not the worst thing in the world to happen. You're not going to gain any life off that. I can promise you. This is a mono black deck. Yeah, that's okay. That's fine. Ooh, that's actually pretty bad. Ugh. Oh well. Oh, I should have vetoed that. That was my dumbass fault. We're gonna scry this to the bottom. We're gonna scry this, yeah. So I do have Dovin's Veto in case he plays another removal spell. I'll block the Rider. Okay. I block. You are dead. You can't win. It's GG. GG. Well played. I made some mistakes there, but nothing I couldn't recover from. This is a fine hand. This is actually a pretty good hand to start off with. Surprised he never drew the oven if he was playing the cats. You don't really run one without running the other. It's kind of weird. Please decide your opening hand at some point. Oh, is this the Orzhov control deck? I consider running that too, but that seemed too similar to the Dance of the Mance deck I was already running. So I decided to not do that. This could also be the Esper Dance deck too. Esper stacks. I got 3 lands. They're slow lands, but I can play them. Oh yeah, this is definitely either Esper or Azorius. This is definitely Esper. There is no question that this is the Esper Control deck. Yep.
I am not loose. Don't worry, I got this.
So we're gonna Prison Realm that Teferi.
Only time will tell.
I already have a Teferi in my hand, so no need to get a second one. Yeah, right now you're just fishing for your combo pieces, for your Doom Foretold. Interesting. You gonna play a counterspell? No? Okay.
I know my responsibility.
Really can't do damage to me. I'm just going to bounce this egg back and...
That's more like it.
Force you to waste some mana.
That according to plan.
Yeah, that's okay. Let's play Cavalier of Gales. And we'll put these 2 lands at the... Cavalier of Gales gets killed, that's not the worst thing that could possibly happen to us, if I'm being honest. Actually, not the worst thing that could happen. Of course, I can just get the ETB again. Although, I think what we're going to do instead is... Do I pay for 3 or for 2? No. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to actually Brazen Borrower to bounce that and get my Cavalier of Gales again. I'm going to put these 2 back on top. And I will probably flash that out on turn 3. Or on the next turn. This is interesting because technically both of us kind of do well if if the game goes long. Like, both of our decks are equipped to kind of handle the long game. Of course, I think their deck is tuned to handle the Doom Foretold better. Which we can too, actually. It's just, not that simple. So we're gonna actually swing in for 3 and get some damage in. If they kill it, it's not a big deal. I might actually end up playing the other Brazen Borrower. I'm expecting the Doom Foretold to pop up at some point now. Yeah, okay. I'll let that resolve. And we're going to bounce that Prison Realm one more time. I want to save the Agent of Treachery, because what I would like to do ideally is hold on until Doom Foretold hits the board, and then once it does, take control of it with Agent of Treachery. That's the plan. Okay, you're sacrificing. You're probably going for a dance at this point, then, aren't you? I don't know why you would sacrifice those otherwise. Wait, do you not have Doom Foretold yet? What are you waiting for? Are you not getting Doom Foretold? What's going on? Probably should have paid just 2, but if I have to discard a card, that's also not a big deal. Discarding a land at this point, because I'm getting plenty of them. I am gonna laugh if and when they play Dance of the Manse and I just Dovin's Veto. Actually, I'm gonna play Veto on this. You're gonna have to play it now. That's fine. We are going to play Agent of Treachery. And take control of that Doom Foretold. You're in a bad spot, mate. Oof. I feel desperation from here. That was the right call. You're not completely behind now.
This isn't a fight you can win.
But you're also not ahead. She would sacrifice to Fairy if I were her. That would be the smart move. I guess you could bounce Fable Past or Doom Foretold with Teferi and then recast it. That was actually probably a mistake. I don't have any Planeswalkers in this deck aside from Teferi himself, so that's not the worst thing to happen. The worst part is if they play Dance again, I can just board wipe a second time. Interesting.
Oh, I've done the hero thing before.
I'm actually going to get this die. And Prison Realm to Fairy. You want to respond, now is your opportunity. You don't get another one. If you're going to play a reanimation, now is the time to do so. You will not get a second chance. Very interesting that
We will meet again.
very interesting. This deck is very resilient. I really appreciate the ability to keep things in check. Oh, that does affect lands. You cycle through your deck.
Thank me later. Here we go.
Alright, now we're starting to get some control back. I should have attacked with the borrower too, that's my fault.
Now what?
That's okay, I can still counter pretty much anything. I'm not concerned about the Prison Realm, I am concerned about Doom Foretold being recast. Oh well, light the fairy.
Really should have seen that coming.
It's not a key piece of my deck. Yeah, we'll, we actually... I will counter that. I don't want my stuff exiled again. That's fine. Kill it, don't exile it. I shall absorb that. We're going to... Okay, yeah, that's what I needed. Swing in for 5. Oh, your own Castle Ardenvale is jammed by that too, isn't it? I don't care.
I'm known for my excellent timing.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, that was my fuck up.
Trust me, I have a plan.
Okay, right now you're clearly digging through your deck.
Goes nothing.
And right back. That's fine. We're about to be a very sad person. This is not going to help me that much right now, because the amount of mana that's being cast. So I can only pay for 1. I'm just going to take that fairy.
This might be a bad idea.
Yeah, at this point, I'm just waiting to clock out. Once I get another one of my big bombs, this is game over. I have enough counter magic to handily deal with basically any threat that comes on my board. A simple brazen bar where we'll end this game.
Let's try this.
Well, that will actually also solve the problem.
I can go long. Stand by and watch.
I'm gonna actually cast
I'll
this for
protect
X equal to 0. Because I just need a 3/3. I literally only played that card because he's a 3/3.
I've got it.
And now I have 16 turns, more or less, to beat her to death with 3/3s. Dove in. Yeah, at this point, there's nothing you can do. That was well played. They played well. Control decks coming back in style. Or, not style, but in something. I don't know, they turn. This is a fine starting hand. Would love to go first, though. Get that first land drop. No point in getting that first land drop anymore. This is I'm on a black deck or a cat deck, then I won't have anything to worry about. Oh, aristocrats. Interesting. Huh. How quaint. Rakdos aristocrats. Alright, let's set them back a little bit.
Right on schedule. I've got time.
Not getting any land, which is starting to become a problem.
You just let me know if you're up for round 2.
You're gonna activate priests. It's gonna feel good to board clear after this. I just need one more land and I'm good. And this game is basically mine. Ooh, yes. That's what I want. Don't take a lot of damage, but it could be worse. Now if I just draw a single... Damn. Damn. Well, I can still set you back.
You show remorse.
Just to be annoying.
No, I am not making this up as I go.
Oh wow, okay. So we'll discard you and you, I guess. Wow, if I'm not drawing lands, I can't play. That's a problem. Oh, if I board clear, he basically is done. I just need a single untapped land, and this whole game turns around instantly.
This is hardly my worst defeat.
Instantly. Oh, this is frustrating. Yeah, that was a good call. Oh, fuck off! That game would have been wholly different if I had drawn my 5th land. Wholly different. But that's the breaks. You win some, you lose some. Okay. Oh, we're playing a mirror match, boys. It's a mirror match. Fuck that. No, you don't get that Teferi. I get Teferi. You don't get shit. Fuck you.
Let's slow this down. I've got time.
Yeah. That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to fucking see.
Defeat.
That's what I want to see. Nice. Super nice.
This isn't a fight you can win. Let's try this.
Bubble.
Don't worry, I got this.
If I were you, I'd play Gadwick or something. For card draw. Or Teferi. Oh! How convenient. I could use that extra land.
I'll protect you.
Sure, you get to draw 2 cards. But only because I also want to draw 2 cards.
That's more like it.
Okay.
Might be a bad idea. Trust me, you'll thank me later. I've got it.
We'll just draw some cards.
It's only a matter of time. I know my responsibility. No, I am not making this up as I go. Stop that. Now! Here we go. Trust me, I have a plan.
I can play instant speed, so I might as well just do that. Mirror matches are weird.
I won't let you win.
I'm going to draw cards. And we're going to absorb this spell.
Here goes nothing.
Not using that effect. Interesting. Oh, okay. I guess he realized that I was just going to outvalue him at this point, because he can't use his counterspell suite against me. It's good to play a control deck again. This is my element. This is my thing. I actually think this will probably be... Ooh, Temple Garden. Always nice to get some shocklands going. I think this is going to be it for me in terms of the stream. Embercleave, in the Rakdos Knights deck, this card has really started to shine now that Oko won't turn it into a 3/3 deer. And then kill it. Like, it's also, with Rotting Registrar no longer being threatened to be turned into a 3/3 deer, this card really has started to come into its own as a powerful piece in the Mardu Knights deck. It's exciting to see. Exciting to see that now that all of the really oppressive green cards have been dealt with, how much more open the standard both can be and likely will become now that different various strategies are usable again in this format. Of course, I'm always going to have a love for the control strategies, but now that Oko is gone, I can actually play Magic again, which is always nice. But until next time, I am Brandon Carey, and thank you for watching another episode of Making Magic in the Arena. I will see you on Sunday with well, by the time this airs on YouTube, the Medieval's like on. If you're watching now, Medieval will be airing on Sunday. If you're watching the highlights or the VOD afterwards, we'll probably start with a new game on that Sunday, because it seems likely we'll finish Medieval in the next stream. But until then, take care and have a great evening.